Alrighty, let's talk about the moon phases. So, I want you guys to understand that the moon phases look different from the bird's eye view of space versus how we actually see them from Earth. So, let's draw a model. So, I'm going to put my sun over here on the right side, my Earth in the middle, and then I will draw the 8 moon phases as we would see them from the bird's eye view of space. So if you were floating on top of our solar system and looking down, this is basically what you would see. Now, if the sun is on the right side, that also means the light is going to be on the right side. So if you look from the bird's eye view of space, all of the moons would look like this, with the left part dark and the right half lit up. Now, if the sun was actually on the left side in the diagram, then the left side of the moons would be lit up and the right side would be dark. Now, obviously, whenever we look at the moon is not always half lit, half dark. And the reason for that is because we see the moon at different angles as it revolves around us throughout each month. So let's figure out what each moon phase is from our perspective on Earth. So, if you are a person standing on the Earth right here and you are looking up at the moon from this perspective, that means you see this part of the moon here this way. So if I'm looking up at the moon and I see it like this, the moon is going to look completely dark to me, and that is called a new moon. Now, if I move up here and I'm a person looking here, I would see this part. The left side of the moon would be mostly dark and a little bit of the right side would be lit up. So from Earth, I would see something like this. And we would call that a waxing crescent. Same thing, standing right here, looking this way, I see this part. So the moon would look about the same. And we call that the first quarter. And with this one, looking up, I see this part, the moon is mostly lit up and a little bit of the left side is dark, so I would see this, and we call that a waxing gibbous. Alright. If I'm standing right here and I look here, I see this part, which is just a regular full moon. Alright, so the bottom half is where it gets a little bit tricky. So up until this point, if you kind of divide the Earth in half, and we're talking about these phases up here, we are looking at the Earth not upside down. Or excuse me, we're looking at the moon and it's not upside down. So the way we draw the pictures is the same as how we see them on Earth. Now, when we're looking at the bottom half of the Earth, so to say, we have to kind of flip these images around in our head because our little people are now upside down. So, if I'm an upside down people looking at this moon, I see this, I see this part, and because I am upside down, the dark part is actually going to be on the left side now. So from bird's eye view in space, the dark part is on the right. Flip it around, it's now on the left, or excuse me, it's on the, oh my gosh, English. From space, the dark part is on the left. From perspective on Earth, it is now on the right. So the moon would look like this, and we call that a waning gibbous. All right, same thing, I'm upside down. So if we flip this moon and make it upside down, it would look like this, and we call that the third quarter. And last one, looking at the moon, we're still upside down. Most of it is dark, a little bit light, and the dark part is still on the right side because it's reversed, it's backwards, and we call this the waning crescent. All right, so this is how all the moon phases work. Know that the moon phases always start with the new moon and they go around like this. We call this one the first quarter because at this point the moon is 1/4 of the way done with its rotation. the full moon would technically be the second quarter, and the third quarter is the third quarter, and back to new moon would be fourth quarter, start the first quarter again. A moon is considered a crescent if less than half of it is lit up. You can see that less than half of both of these are lit up. It's a quarter if exactly half of it is lit up, and it is a gibbous if more than half of it is lit up. And the phases are considered waxing when the light is growing. So if you look at this one, back to this one, the light is slowly getting bigger until you get to the full moon. And then with the waning phases, you start off with a lot of light, but then it slowly shrinks and gets smaller. So it's called waning. Waxing means growing, waning means shrinking. So, so you guys need to memorize this layout. You need to be able to figure out where the different phases would go depending on where the sun is, because if you have a sun over here on the left side, again, from the bird's eye view of space, the right side would now be dark, and this one would be new moon, so on and so forth. So you need to be able to kind of visualize this in your head and be able to turn it around and flip it around as needed to figure out where the moon phases go. You need to memorize these moon phases in the correct order and know what they look like. Also know that at no point in this diagram is the Earth casting a shadow on the moon. It is all just the angle that you see the moon at depending on where you are standing on Earth. Also know this, you can see different moon phases at different times of the day, night, or both, depending on the moon phase. So for example, we know that if the sun is on the right side, that means the right part of the Earth here, whoops, my Earth disappeared. We know that the right side of the Earth would be the daytime, and the left side would be the nighttime. So if I'm standing on the nighttime side of Earth, I would be able to see any phase from like this point onward. If I am on the daytime side of Earth, I would be able to see any phase from this side onward. So I can only see a waxing crescent during the day, and I can only see a full moon at night. I can see a third quarter, kind of about half and half. So just depends on the moon phase, but some you can see during the day, some at night, some a little bit of both. So hope this helps.